Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner. But Boromant's got the inside.
Winning the star here in nominal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin's the lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
Takes the lead on the final lap of the race.
Hello everybody and welcome back to PSGL here for another season. It is season 36. It is great to be back and my name is Omi. I'm excited to be taking you through the action this season, and alongside me is a man who knows quite a lot about the fourth level on the PC side. It's Mr. Mid-Sky.
Hello everyone, good evening to you all here in the YouTube chat. Yeah, indeed, my third time around here for PCF4, season 30, and we've got a great lineup of drivers this season, so I'm super excited.
Super excited indeed. I think it's going to be a fabulous season, and we'll quickly show you all of the races that we go to this season. We of course start the championship here in Australia, then we head to Spa, then Monaco, Austria, Canada, France, Portugal, Azerbaijan, and then the Netherlands, Brazil, and we end at Austin, Texas. Now this calendar has a lot of tracks that we haven't visited so far in the F1 23 game cycle, so there's going to be a lot of circuits that you haven't seen, and it's going to be a completely wide open race. I think we're going to be getting a lot of chaos, especially at Monaco, Baku, so I think we're going to be in for an incredible season. I think some drivers will like the calendar, some drivers won't as well, but I cannot wait for first of all Australia to get underway.
Yeah, so season starts in Australia. I'm definitely looking forward a lot to Monaco. It's always nice to have that on. Also, my my home track, Zandvoort. So looking forward to that one too. And yeah, throughout the season, we're going to see how the championship is going to unfold. And let's hope it's going to be the same as F5 last season, with a season finale and the final race.
Yep, absolutely. That was what I was doing at the time, but great to be here now in F4 for hopefully a very exciting season to come. Now, we have drivers from all over the place. As you can see right now in your screen, we've got some drivers unfortunately demoted to from F3, but they will be hoping to be competitive in F4. You've got drivers who are staying in F4. You've got drivers promoted from F5 and even F6 as well. So right now, I think this is going to be a really tight championship all the way through. And if we look at it, I don't really know if we can even predict the winner. There's so many fast drivers in this field. It could really be anyone.
There are so many people that we see here that at least are familiar to me. Well, at least half the grid's very familiar with me, but so many drivers that could take it up to the season. Keanu Luto, Luke Walstow, Daniel Gottschalk, Tomas Kilkenny, Kuba Trzeziak, and Milan Dowd did very well last season. There are so many to name, and this is just a few of them. And yeah, let's not forget the champions from 5F6. It's anyone's guess, really.
It really could be anyone, so I cannot wait to get this season underway. Looks like we are just getting the lobby sorted for you as well, and let's actually quickly take you through though all of the drivers that are racing. You have Jane Tripkoff, then you have Alan, Emil Lundell, Kuba, Sparky, Tamas Kokeni, Noel Carlman, Tyus Korsman, Zach Miles, Keanu Litard, Felipe Salza, Julian Kreidix, Tristan Debecourt, Daniel Gottschalk, Luke Walstow, Boris, and then we have Nardi Perez, Yona Martins, and Thomas Puldra. So apologies if I do mispronounce any names. Some of them are new to me, some of them I've come across before, so this is going to be super exciting. As you can see right now, really stacked grid, so as we've already talked to you about, it could really be anyone.
It could really be anyone. And also, let's not forget to give a shout out to our reserve drivers this season: Linus Donovan, Carlos Torres, Mike Klein, Will Gibson, Nico Viani, and Lucas. So 6 reserve drivers in total. Do you want to go over the placements as well, so we know who's driving for which team?
Absolutely. I don't actually have them with me right now.
I have them for you.
Yeah, so Mitt does have them, so he'll be able to talk you through that while I quickly try get in the lobby, as we're having a few lobby issues.
Alright, so let me talk you through. For Red Bull this season, we have Alan Benasek and Felipe Sosa. For Mercedes, it's Gene Tripkov and Thias Korsman. For Ferrari, it's Jona Martens and Noel Carmen. For McLaren, we have Sparky and Zach Miles. For Aston Martin, Stamas Kenny and Thomas Boldra. Alpine sees a pairing of Emil Lundell and Kuba Trzeziak. Williams, it's Julian and Nardi Perez. Then for the AlphaTauri squad, we have Keanu Luto and Krezix. Then we'll have to refer to them to Sauber for this season. So in case you're confused, Sauber is the team name. It's Tristan Debecour and Boris Zakosek. And then finally for Haas, the pairing of Daniel Gottschalk and Luke Walstow. So those are your permanent lineups for this season. But I believe we will see a couple of reserve drivers tonight, as a few drivers unfortunately have to miss our opening race.
Yep, absolutely, and unfortunately, I don't think the attendance was the best last season in F4. It was very good in F5, so hopefully we're going to be seeing some great attendance coming in by these drivers, and quite a lot of them, of course, really quick, so I'm sure, and also they are very committed, so I'm sure we're going to be getting some good attendance this season. However, I'm in the lobby. Mitt will try get in the lobby for you as well. Apologies for this short delay. However, in the meantime, let's actually take you through a lap with Mitt Sky around the Albert Park Street Circuit.
Welcome for a lap around Albert Park Circuit, where we have hard braking to turn 1, 5th gear. Try to take a lot of throttle here. Do not hit the inner curve. You'll definitely spin out here as we approach turn 3, hard braking zone, the 100-meter mark. This is where you brake. Take a bit of curve. And then slowly build up here. Don't touch the inner curves too much. You go a little bit wider, then pretty much full throttle here. Take a bit of curve, not too much. And now we get into the revamp zone. Brake early, go back to 5th, and then fully power it down. The long straight. This is the second DRS detection with the second DRS zone of the lap. We're going to get a fast left right hand combination in a moment's notice. Now the first one, brake, shift back to, try to take a lot of speed here. Do not hit the inner curve again too much, because you're going to spin out once more. Then powering down, and you see a red mark just before that. You hit the brakes hard, inner curve, 4th gear on it, then a little speed, another honking here, earn to free up to get final turn, hit the wall there. That is around Albert.
Okay, so apologies if the hot lap was a bit laggy. Looks like we've had a tiny bit of issues, however they are sorted. We're getting into qualifying, so we should be able to bring you the action quickly as well. Here is the circuit that we, of course, are doing battle on. 14 turns, 5.2 kilometers, 3.2 miles as well. Quite a great circuit. And let's actually now, we're also going to show you some of the corners that we do. That we are going to be seeing the battles today. This was Rishon versus Nagy through turn number 1, and then making our way down towards turn number 3 of this circuit. And it was a late lunge on the brakes by Nagy. Kind of used the Ferrari as a brake, but was able to get the move done there as well. And we're going to take you further round the lap to turn number 11, and this was a late lunge coming in by Aleda, getting past Maya, who had the up and under, and he had the position, and straight off into the gravel went Aleda in the Williams. And then you had Johnson spinning all the way to the final corner. One driver almost did that ahead, but then the Ferrari did do that indeed. So here we go then. We are now on the circuit, so we're going to be able to take you all the way to the game screen, and we should be able to get underway then here. And right now you are watching the main menu. There we go. Now we have it all sorted for you, and take a look at this. You've got PSGL sponsoring all around this circuit, and also Sim Racing Center and GT Omega as well, so big thanks to all of them. And this circuit really does look great.
It really does, and especially after the revamp we had a couple of years ago, the circuit has definitely improved. The high-speed corners after just Sector 1, so the beginning of Sector 2, much more high-speed now, 4 DRS zones as well as a result. And let's not forget the race with the most red flags ever last year, with 4 total recorded. So this track surely shows that there's a lot of action happening, and yeah, for me, I'm thankful that I don't have to do any hot laps on this track anymore, because I do tend to spin here quite a lot. So that hot lap that you saw earlier on, not only is it 3 seconds off the pace, also took me almost 45 minutes to record that, to just get a clean lap. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the drivers here will be doing it a lot better, and this is why we are commentators, and at least for me, it should stick to the commentary box.
Still a great lap there on it as well. So we are into qualifying. Of course, only one part of qualifying. Apologies, we had to have a little break there, just getting used to everything. And I've not streamed for or PSGL obviously for a tiny bit, of course, as we've had the off season, so just getting used to everything there. But we're going to watch with Yona Martins. He's going to be starting a push lap then, as he'll make his way through the final corner and down towards turn number 1.
Yeah, and currently the first driver out on track is Zach Miles. He's rounded off the first sector with a 26.495. But you were on board with Jonah, so let's go to Jonah in the Ferrari. He's also our host for tonight. He makes his way down the first DRS zone into what is now called turn number 3, one of the hard-braking zones, as we saw in the hot lap as well. It has an easy reference point to do the braking too, but here, now at the end of Sector 1, this is the tricky section. This is where we saw some huge crashes and races before we dive into Sector 2, and we already see that Jonah Martins hasn't validated, so we'll have to redo that lap at a later point.
Yep, so not what you want at all. So he has invalidated there, as we do see them all make their way through. Let's actually watch Zach Miles, as you mentioned, as he comes over the line. And the F5 Vice Champion is right now P1, of course, as he's the first driver over the line. It's a 1 minute 16.347 for him, and we're going to have more drivers like Jane Tripkoff, who we are on board with, making his way through as well over the line out of the final corner. And let's see what he is able to do then in the Mercedes car this season. He sends it over the line, and he's behind right now, a bit of a and he's behind there by less than a tenth of a second, and his teammate slots in to P3.
Yeah, so more drivers are coming across the line now. We saw 3 drivers earlier on that did invalidate, whereas Zakosek is still in the 3rd sector. If we move on to Daniel Gottschalk, he's also in Sector 3, but we have some other drivers coming across the line first, including Felipe Sosa, as he makes his way around the final corner. That's turn 14, and he does come across the line in a 1:16.6, which is P10 provisionally. As Boris is now coming down. Boris might be a little bit quicker as 16.4, so that's P7. And then Daniel will shortly follow after as he puts that Haas in P7. So a few more drivers out there on track. More drivers already leaving the pits. Sparky Kryzak's there leaving the pits for a second lap. Nemo Lundell, Carlos Torres, and Adi Perez still out.
Indeed, as they all right now make their way through as well. So it's Zach Miles, Jane Tripkov, Kuba, Tamash, and then Luca Wolstow as well right now, who's in 5th, and it's Tyus Korsman, Daniel Gottschalk, Boris, Kiana Litard, and we have Thomas Buldra in 10th position as they all continue pushing on. We'll actually watch and see Carlos Torres as he right now is making his way through turn number 9, through turn number 10, and then it's foot to the floor all the way down towards turn number 11 for him. The driver who raced in F6 last season, finished 8th in the standings, and he is one of the reserves for this season. And let's see how well he's going to be able to do, because even if you may be a reserve, we usually do see it from time to time. He's coming into the pit lane aborting this lap, but we usually do see it. We can get a reserve at some point during the season taking a race victory.
Yes, we've seen it many times before, and I don't think this will be an exception this season, especially because the grid is so competitive. So even if drivers come in new, they can easily come up here and give a good showing. Last season, we, for example, had Danielle Parodi, who's now in F2, who stepped in as a reserve driver and did very well. So many drivers that can do well, as Nardi Perez is now setting his benchmark lap, and that is a 1:22, but he has not used any ERS for that lap. So let's see if he's going to continue with that right now, but because he already invalidated lap 1 or turn 1, he will not be continuing with that. But more drivers are out there on track, and I think Tristan Debecourt has just started his first flyer.
Yep, Tristan Debecourt has indeed started his first flyer as well. Now, while he is pushing on, you're going to be able to watch him make his way through, but you're going to have enough for our voices for a tiny bit. And instead, we're going to be able to hear from Luke Wolstow right now, as he spoke to us earlier on about this season.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to start the season. It's I always wanted a good calendar, and we finally got a good calendar, and I'm very well prepped for Australia. Now I've gone from Tier 6 to Tier 4 with much faster drivers, and I'm very excited to test myself against higher level drivers and hopefully do very well and prove to myself that I can finish up near the top where I want to. I've prepped very well for Australia, and I hope for a good result and many more to come, and hopefully win the title and keep
Okay, great to hear from him there as well, talking to us about this season. Still, we have Jona Martins, who is invalidated. Alan going to the top of the table. First man in the .2s. The laps are going to be getting faster and faster though as well, as Jona Martins, as I mentioned, invalidated. Julian disqualified from the session for blocking the pit lane. So that's not what you want, as Nardi Perez has gone off the road, but that's not what Julian wants in his first qualifying session of the season.
I didn't even know this was a thing. This is the first time seeing this in at least my F1 casting career. So I would assume that we will need a lobby restart later on. Now, we've heard earlier on from the admins that if we get a restart, that dynamic weather will be used. So it is still possible to get different weather settings added to the lobby, because for now, as you can see, it is still quite dry. Some of the drivers were mentioning rain, although I'm not sure if that's for the main race or not. Of course, it is not something for us to see, only for us to find out. But in the meantime, more and more drivers are coming out for their second lap, and it looks like the main drivers that we have to watch, who set the fastest laps in the first run, are about to start that lap as well. And I think Zach Miles is the one leading the pack. No, he's a bit further back. His teammate is up ahead, and that is... Sparky's coming into the pits.
Okay, so...
Felipe Sousa.
Yeah, Felipe Sousa. We'll watch him in that case and see how he is able to get on. And last season, he was one of the championship contenders in F5, but his last few races didn't go to plan, meaning that he was eliminated going into the final round in Bahrain. So Felipe Sousa lighting up the rear as he makes his way through turn number 3, now through 4, and making his way through turn number 5 towards turn 6. But definitely a much more flowing circuit with the new layer added in 2022, and you have 4 DRS zones that the drivers use around the circuit as well, so plenty of overtaking opportunities.
Yeah, we see that Felipe has set a very fast first sector, was already up almost 2 tenths on his previous fast lap. and now has improved slightly, almost 2.5 tenths. This would, at this point, put him at a low 16.4, which is going to bring him close to the top 5 out there. So if he can improve just a little bit more, he might be going to a provisional P3 even as he comes around the final few corners. Now just 2 left to go. Turn 13, left-hander, then shifting up early to not lose the car, not full throttle as he comes around the final bend. Little slip on the ends. But is it enough for an improvement? It is enough. It's enough for a provisional pole. What a massive improvement in the final sector. And it's a Red Bull 1-2. Gosh, I wonder where we've seen that before.
Oh, absolutely. So, Felipe Salza at the front of the field in run 2 right now. Still, lap times to come. We'll focus on Jane Tripkov as he makes his way down towards turn number 11. And he is up marginally, though. So, he'll want to continue that through the rest of the lap in the third sector as he goes down to the braking zone of turn number 13. And then turn 14 will come for him as well, and now will make his way over the line. DRS open. Let's see where the Mercedes man can go. Currently P6 over the line. He goes, improves to 4th, and it was also, it seems like Kuba who found an improvement to 3rd position as well. Tyres Korsman to the front of the field. The F5 champion goes to the top, and is anyone else going to be able to find a lap? Here we see with Tamas Konkani, he goes into 3rd position, so great lap time by him as well. And is there anyone else still pushing on? We've got Keanu Litard who's down, so he is not pushing on right now at this stage. We'll go a bit more further down. We have Daniel. Yeah, he's diving it into the pit lane. We might have Boris. Let's see, is he going to dive in? Yep, Boris is diving it in as well. So let's watch Yona Martins. He seems to be pushing on right now on the circuit. We've got plenty of other drivers on outlaps, but Yona Martins is pushing on as he tries to get his first time on the board. He's the only driver who is still in this session to not have a lap time.
And the only driver yet to set a lap, as more drivers are now starting to go for laps off sync. But if we are on board with Jonah, he's now in the 3rd sector. A little slide there at the end of the long straight there, the 3rd DRS zone as well. Trying to take as much speed through the corners as he possibly can, going a little bit wide, but not too wide as to invalidate as he now comes around the final bend. But is it enough to get close to the drivers up ahead? It is very good as he puts his car in P2. That is a great way to start because he did not have a lap on the board yet. You would expect a banker lap perhaps a little bit slower, but he's having none of that. And Sparky, in the meantime, has spun at the start of Sector 2, so he, unfortunately, will have to abort his lap. But I think Alan Banasak is on a flyer. He hasn't validated. So I have to wait for, I think, for Tristan to start his next lap now.
Absolutely.
And he will.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Tristan now going to be pushing on. We're now also going to hear from Kuba as well. He currently sits in 6th position. We'll hear from him similarly about the topic that we heard from Luke Woolstow about this upcoming season.
So, I'm happy to start another season. The last one was not that good for me. I was pretty inconsistent in my results. Wasn't practicing that much, but this season I hope to just stabilize my results and hopefully I could get into top 5. I think that's my goal for the season. The tracks are pretty good for me. Mostly Monaco, Azerbaijan and Brazil. So yeah, I think this season will go better than the last one. Fortunately had to do some mid-season break due to some personal reasons, and yeah, that was pretty much game over for me in terms of fighting for some top positions. But yeah, I hope I'm good today in Australia. It's a very tricky track, especially in qualifying, but I think I prepared well and will do good today. So.
So, while we were hearing from him, Thomas Buldra was telling me about how much of a good lap he was on. It was a lap that can take him to the front of the field right now, and he is on provisional pole as all of the drivers prepare for the final run in this session. And it's going to be such a tight one. Thomas right now at the front. He's out of sync with everyone else. The rest are coming out on the circuit as we get ready. As Jane Tripkov has been given a 5th place penalty that should be removed as well. So there shouldn't be any issues for him there. But it's Thomas Buldra in P1 and a great lap time by him.
Yeah, but because he's off sync, I don't think he's going to go for another Flyers. In the meantime, Nardi Perez comes across the line. Does improve a bit, but still finds himself P19 on the grid. So that is not all too amazing for him, as we have all other drivers out on track. So 17 drivers currently on their outlap. And it looks like one of the Haas drivers is the first one out. But is that Daniel? No, it is his teammate Luca Wolsto. So he'll be the first to open the dance with the final runs. A third and final run. We have 1:45 left on the clock. This is where you have to do it. This is where you have to go for pole. But can we break that magic 116 barrier? We'll know in a few minutes.
We definitely will. Here we go, down towards turn number 1 as he flies past all of the PSGL sponsoring as well. Great to have it all there, and we also have the GT Omega to the left, to the right, and also in the center at times as well, and then we will get also to the SRC. But right now, all attention on this man in the middle of your screen, Luke Wolstow, pushing on at the moment. He is, let's see what his first sector time is going to be looking like. He's up by a tenth of a second.
Yeah, so his first sector, he's slightly off of the lap that Thomas Buldra was able to do, but still improving by already a 10th is a very good way to start your third and final run. Now, the second sector, there's not too much to gain. It's only the exit at the beginning of the sector, but it is enough to improve by about half a tenth again. So he's now 10th and a half up, which would push him in the high 16.2s, which is a provisional P8 for the time being. But of course, other drivers still on a fast lap, as Emil Lundell has aborted already. Nardi Perez is retired, so he won't be doing another lap. Luca is running into a little bit of traffic there, but nothing that seems to be holding him up at least. So he can go for a quicker lap. He's going to come across the line now. For how much is it enough? Luke Walso puts it on P9 for a time being, losing a little bit of time in the final sector.
Absolutely, Sparky over the line as well. You have Thomas, who's retired. Jona Martins as well. Tyus Korsman, keep an eye out for him. Gunning for first position on the circuit. We're currently watching Felipe Souza. There's some more drivers who will be coming over the line though as well as we watch them all. Checkered flag is out at the end of the session, and it's going to be Jane Tripkov also finding an improvement as he'll make his way down towards turn number 13. Can Jane Tripkov try and find a lap time now? The PC F3 driver from last season coming over the line. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. Currently in 8th, and he doesn't improve his time. Keanu Litard is going to be starting in 10th position as well, as now we see Tyus Korsman coming over the line. Allen to second. Can Tyus Korsman get himself to pole? No, he can only get himself up to the front row, and Felipe Souza still pushing on, and let's see if he can find some magic in the final part of the lap.
As Tomas Kokeni improves, Felipe Sousa, indeed, as you mentioned, now coming around turn 14. So has a little bit to go, but I don't think there's too many more gunners for that provisional pole position. But can Felipe do it? He puts his car into 6th, so it does improve a bit. Kuba Traziak is invalidated. Luca Walso is not on a flyer. Sparky is in. Carlos Torres seemingly blocked there a little bit by one of the Haas drivers. I think that's it. There will be no other drivers improving. It's Thomas Buldra. He's going to take the first pole position of the season, and with the Aston Martin team claiming that. And we'll be starting for the first row together with Tias Korsman.
So, incredible stuff by Thomas. He will be leading the field as well. And do remember, he is in his first season here at PSGL. His first proper season. He did join, but he had no races before due to some wheel issues, I believe. So this is his first proper showing out on circuit. And he's put the car at the front of the field before the opening round of the season. Always great for him. And he's joined by a very talented driver, Tyus Korsman. And it will be exciting to see these two fighting it out down to turn number 1.
Yeah, and then from last season, Alan Manasek finds himself in P3, followed by Boris Akosek, Jona Martins, Felipe Sousa, Tomasz Kokeni, Daniel Gottschalk, Kuba Trasiak, James Tripkov rounding off top 10. And then the final 10 spots go to Luca Walso, Keanu Lukto, Zach Miles, Sparky P14, Carlos Torres, substitute driver P15, then followed by Tristan Debecour, Emil Lundell, Krezix, Nardi Perez, and finally Julian, who did get that disqualification for blocking a pit lane, which was a bit odd. But because of the penalties, I think we're going to get a restart. Already seeing drivers asking about it, and I think Jonah is going to confirm that in a moment. So I'll have to wait a little bit. It means that we have some extra time to talk, and well, there's a lot to talk about as always. But I think what would be good is if we get another look. Oh my God, it is pouring. I think the drivers will be very happy that we have a race start, because this would have been full wet.
Yes, absolutely. Before we preview this race, let's get a quick word from our lovely sponsors at GT Omega. Okay, everybody, welcome back then. Great qualifying, Mitt. That was incredible, very close, and I think we're going to be in for a close race.
I think we definitely will be, although I'm super excited to see what the weather is going to do, because well, like I mentioned earlier on, we're going to get the dynamic settings, so that could mean that the weather is going to be completely different after this lobby restart. At the moment it was pouring, and was supposed to be pouring all race long. So I think the drivers are happy that they don't have to drive around this track for 29 laps in the pouring wet, because we have seen before what that means on a track like this. Hopefully for the drivers, it'll be a little bit different. Hopefully for us, we'll see some mixed conditions, because that will mean that we're going to see some interesting strategies out there, because normally I think most of the drivers will go for a one stop here, with mediums and hards being a part of that. And it looks like a few drivers still have to leave before we can restart the lobby. So I think we have a few more minutes to still chat. Do we have any words from any of the other drivers out there?
Will be interesting to see, but we definitely want to hear from you guys in the live chat on some predictions. We've got the Bulldog hype train going on as well. So that's going to be... so it'll be interesting to see how they do in the race. But yes, now I'm gonna get myself in the lobby very quickly. So do let us know your predictions on who's going to be taking victory. I should just be able to join Yona Martins, and all of the drivers do get in very quickly. So we cannot afford to waste any time.
Will be booted back to the lobby in a moment's notice, so that is all good. In the meantime, we see a lot of support for Thomas Bultra, who took pole position earlier on. So let's see if he can fulfill his promise and take the first race win of the season here, PSGL F4.
Absolutely. And apologies, it accidentally took you to the SRC sponsorship. I mean, big shout out to them, and also Yuri as well. It's his birthday, so happy birthday to him. So I guess that was an extra little present to him there, but that was not meant to happen, and we cut Mitt off, unfortunately. However, yes, we're going to be getting racing, and it seems like it's not going to be dynamic, and it seems like it may actually be full wet. So it is going to be mixed conditions and absolutely chaotic.
Well, I see already some of the drivers are not too happy about that. As in the meantime, we're being booted back to the lobby so we can get started. Hopefully, about a minute or two, three. Gives us a little bit of extra time to talk about not just the track, but I think also the calendar for this season. Of course, we already referred to it at the start of the stream, but I think it is good to go over it once more and see what is in store for you guys in the coming months here at PSGL.
Absolutely. So, we of course are racing in at Australia today. Then we are going to make our way to Belgium. That's going to be a really interesting race, especially at the opening lap. So definitely be here on time. Also for qualifying as well, as that qualifying was very tense and was very good. So you guys have to be here for the qualifying, and then of course stay with us all the way till the race, where the DRS tactics come into play. So it's always exciting in the race as well. Then we head to Monaco, and well, in real life it would be time to fall asleep. Here, absolutely not. There's going to be moves that aren't on, that the drivers are going to be making. There's going to be all sorts of chaos. There's going to be all sorts of carnage. That's going to be exciting. But then we head to Austria, and obviously we've had Australia. We had Austria last season in the calendar. And if I've not watched any, let's say if we've not watched any races at all in this season, and we had to predict what would be the most chaotic race, I think a lot of people would say Austria, and most exciting race as well would be Austria. And F5 it definitely was. How was it in F4, Myth?
It was pretty good. We had fights for the race win starting all the way from 6 laps to go, so it was really good. Was really going down to the wire, even some overtakes coming around the final corner. So not a where you expect the drivers still to go for overtake. So it was a very exciting race to watch last time out, and I think for this season that can only be the same.
Yeah, the top two sharing the front row seem to be very popular with the live chat. So keep supporting them, keep cheering them on as well. All throughout the race, you're gonna have 29 laps to cheer them on. But yeah, it's going to be wet. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting, and then we're going to get a lot of chaos already in the season opening race. But let's continue taking you through the calendar. Then we head to Canada, and then we head over to France, Portugal, and then Baku. Another chaotic race where I think we're going to get plenty of overtaking, plenty of action, and plenty of chaos. Then Netherlands, I think that's going to be a great race as well. Overtaking can be hard there, but drivers are going to find ways to make overtakes, and it's going to be really feisty at Netherlands. So cannot wait for that. But when the drivers do make overtakes on the circuit, it's always spectacular. And then Brazil definitely could end up as one of the best races of the season, along with Austria. I think we can already predict that. Brazil always delivers, and I'm sure it's going to be a thrilling race there. Then we'll end the season at Austin, Texas. So that's going to be really exciting to see how that race is going to go. Now, I can tell you all something. We're about to get underway. We're about to get racing. We are in the loading screen, and Myth, I think this race is going to have an added spice of wet conditions. So that's just going to I think that's just going to add quite a lot more drama onto it, and is going to give us definitely a very exciting season opening race.
I think so for sure. And if I saw some of the weather reports that were shared by the drivers in the Discord chat, because normally we don't really have access to that, but we saw that was going to be pouring for pretty much the entire race. So I wonder if any of the drivers will be switching to inters or even to the dry weather tires. But seeing how it's pouring currently down the main straight here in Albert Park, I don't think we're going to be seeing any switches anytime soon. This track, of course, has been on the calendar for quite some time. Used to be a season opener. Now we see it a little bit later on in the season, but it's been on the calendar since '96. Of course, haven't raced here for 2 years during COVID. But it's a little bit of a different track compared to where we raced before, which, for example, was added. This is more of a semi-permanent track. The track actually in this condition only for 3 months in a year, so 2 months beforehand they start building up the track, and they leave that for about 6 weeks after the race, and then you can sort of go around the track still. But yeah, like I mentioned, semi-permanent, so some can be used, some cannot be used, and overall it's just a very nice place to have races here. I think a lot of people will be happy to see races in Australia. And let's be real, this is not a track that you want to see disappear from the calendar either.
Definitely. And especially with the new layout, we've already mentioned it in the stream. Introduced, of course, in 2022. With the new layout, it definitely has made it much more flowing. It's definitely made it more exciting. Of course, we would have had 4 DRS zones for you. We're not going to be getting that due to the rain, but I think the rain's already going to add enough chaos that we don't need DRS at all. So, yeah, overtaking is going to be much more tricky. But yeah, this is definitely one of those amazing circuits, and even better with the fast flowing section now, where it's foot to the floor all the way from turn number 7, 8 all the way down to turn number 9, and adds an overtaking opportunity as well. So I think it's going to be really, really fascinating how it's all going to play out. It is really, really raining as we right now are looking in the pit lane, of course, with all of the PSGL sponsorship boards everywhere, and it's great to have them as well, rather than all of your normal ones as well. Definitely, I think we can all tell it's PSGL, and it definitely adds another vibe to it. Of course, Mitt, you don't have it, but when you do watch back the stream, and all of the viewers, of course, watching right now, it definitely does look good, and definitely better than all of the usual ones we would have. But here we go then. It is time for the season to begin. Here come the lights. We're underway for the championship, and it's a good reaction time from Thomas, who will make his way towards turn number 1. T.S. Korsman trying to come over and take the race lead, trying to go round the outside in the opening meters of the race. He is going to be in second. It'll be Alan in third position, and then we have Boris as well, battling up against Yona Martins. Boris making a move as they all come out of the spray and make their way down towards turn number 3. Thomas holds the lead. T.S. Korsman coming under a bit of pressure. Boris trying to make a move, and around the outside goes Alan. Can he try make the move? Is side by side with Yona Martins, but Thomas holds the lead at the front as Yona Martin picks up a penalty after being pushed wide, and they're still side by side.
They're still by side, but a great start by Thomas, immediately covering off any attack that Tias was able at least to attempt. He had to go around the outside, but there was no space for him to get by. So now he will have to follow that Aston Martin. But it looks like he's using quite a bit of ERS to get closer and closer to Thomas. I don't think he's going to be making an overtaking opportunity just now, but if we go on board with Tias, at least I'll be going on board with him real quick. Has a slightly better exit here. Is he going to try and send it down here? Because Thomas already starting to run out of ERS, but Tias again forced to the outside, a touch a little bit, no damage at least, but for now Thomas does stay ahead as Yona gets another penalty for multiple warnings, so he surely is all up in that fight.
He definitely is as well. They all make their way through, and Taz Korsman already starting to put quite a bit of pressure on as we make our way out of the final corner and down towards turn number 1, who is going to go for some moves. Looks like Thomas Conkenny thinking about it. It might be the 2 Red Bulls who are going to go side by side into turn number 1. Alan is going to hold the position. Felipe Salda with the up and under. Saw his teammate run out wide and has been able to take the position. Not the only one. Thomas Conkenny is trying to make a move as well. Bit of wheel banging between the two of them. Watch Daniel Gottschalk trying to get through as well. 3 wide in the wet conditions. Always very risky. Both Red Bulls running off wide. Jane Tripkoff off a tiny bit wide as well. Yellow flags are out, and we've had a bit of contact, and Alan has lost a few places. So it's already starting to get aggressive between these drivers, as it's Felipe Salta in 5th position. Then you have Thomas Conkenny in 6th. Daniel Gottschalk in 7th. Keanu Litard in 8th.
Yeah, a lot of tumbling down the order, unfortunately, for one of the Red Bull drivers. That's Alan, now dropped to P12. But we see the drivers are starting to struggle a little bit with the weather, especially being so close to one another. But it looks like our top 4 has managed to get a little bit of a gap to Felipe due to that fighting that we saw earlier on. But look at that, Tias 1.8. Oh, he's actually gone past. Thomas went a little bit wide and had to concede 2 positions there. So Thomas finds himself in P3. Up in P2 is Boris Zakusek. Was a pretty good start as well. Down the inside comes Yona Martins. And he is going to be on the outside now for the next turn. So I think Thomas is going to keep it. But we have a virtual safety car now after an incident. And I think that is Sparky and Alan Manassek involved in that.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be dramatic. It was dramatic, and we're already getting quite a bit of side-by-side. A lot of position changes, as you can see on your screen as well. The drivers are diving into the pit lane. We'll put on the tyres for you to show you some of the fresher tyres, to also show you as well as the drivers come into the pit lane now to repair their front wing. But yeah, it seemed like a mistake by Thomas, who finds himself going from first all the way down to fourth in half a lap as well. And Tyres Korsman now is the leader. Boris in second, Yona Martins in third. So some great battling all throughout the field. But yeah, the top four did have a little advantage. It can usually change around a bit with virtual safety cars. Screw that, we have a safety car out on the circuit, so it definitely is going to bunch everyone up once again after the chaotic fighting that we had. So the safety car is out on lap number 3 of the season, and they're all as Jane Tripkov has been given a drive to penalty. Now that's not good for him. He's going to have to wait now till the safety car's over, and that's when he's going to be able to dive it into the pit lane to serve that. And then of course he'll have to hope for another safety car, because he'll be out, because he'll be massively behind the pack, and he won't even be able to change his tyres. That's how a drive-through penalty works, unfortunately.
Yeah, so it's not good news for Jane, at least for the time being, but that it's wet here around Albert Park. Already a safety car so early on, I think that Jane doesn't have to worry too much, and that he has a pretty good chance of seeing another safety car later on, especially when we're going to get a restart behind the safety car. Because remember, we're not going to get red flags that easily here in the game, so we're just going to get a safety car restart, which means all the cars will be rolling with a rolling start instead of a standing start. So that could make things a lot more interesting heading into turn 1, because turn 1 is one of those corners that could spark chaos. As we see Boris come into the pits, he's one of the first drivers really to do so. He was up in P2, comes in now, so he's going to concede quite a few positions ahead of Jane Tripkov. But let's see, Julian is also doing the same thing, but the other drivers decide against it. So I'm not sure if he's stopping this early, hoping that he can push it to the end, or if he's got a better strategy in mind.
Yep, absolutely, as well. So, possibly a different strategy in mind. Everyone from 15th downwards has come into the pit lane. As you can see, it says 0 laps for them. Julian and Jane Tripkov also in as well, as right now they make their way through. So Tyres Korsman, Yona Martins, Thomas, and then we have Felipe Salza and Tamas Kenny on lap number 4 of this race. Safety car coming out very, very early indeed, and we kind of needed it after it all started going wild between all of the drivers.
Yeah, the first lap went quite okay. We haven't seen too much contact, but then, of course, in lap 2 and 3, we saw some more chaos ensue, and this is when the safety car came out. But a lot of fighting, especially early on. Not a lot of space on most parts of the track, so it's not easy to go for an overtake. It's very easy to make contact if you're so close to one another, and that is indeed what we saw there. Now, in the meantime, if we are going on board again, it looks like the safety car still has its slides on, so I think the end of lap 5, start at lap 6, we're going to see the drivers be on their way again. Now, I don't think anyone is going to come into the pits now to go for fresher tires, because that will send you all the way to the back of the grid. So I think the race will restart as it is now, and I'm going to be very curious to see if Boris can make up a lot. But it's safety car in this lap.
Oh, well, that
was very
that's a very late one as well. So we're getting ready then. Tyres Korsman wasn't expecting us to be taking us back to green flag racing this early, but he has now taken us back as we make our way down the start-finish straight towards turn number 1. Tyres Korsman in the race lead, Yona Martins in second, and then we have Thomas Buldra in third position as we go back to green flag racing conditions, and we see Tyres Korsman out of shape a tiny bit. Same can be said about Yona Martins. Are we about to get a change for the lead? A gap has opened up on the inside line for Yona Martins. He's going to dive to the inside. They will be side by side. Tyres Korsman trying to keep his foot in. Wheel to wheel we go. Will the Ferrari have the better traction? Taking the outside line. Still nothing between them as we make our way up. As we make our way through, and it's still going to be Yona Martins who is battling, but Yona Martins is going to have the position, and Thomas Buldra trying to also make a move to try to take second.
Yeah, we saw them fight for so long, but at some point he has had to concede. He knew he had to concede, and that almost cost Thomas Broldra to come by, but now we have Felipe Sosa having a look down the inside of Thomas Broldra, having a look down the inside of both of them. That is a crazy move to try and make. He had to concede there. That would only end in tears. But that was a very, very risky move to make. A very daring move. And now round the outside of Thomas Broldra, he does manage to push it onto P3, at least for a time being. And he does keep it ahead, at least for now, as Thomas almost losing it there on the exit. Now it's going to be overtaken by his teammate. We see a lot of action once more of this safety car restart, but so far all good.
Oh, the two Hasses in the background. That's Luke. We see Luke Wolstow side by side as well with his teammate Daniel Gottschalk as they make their way onto the start-finish straight. Still side by side, nothing between them. As you see them all make their way down towards the first corner. They are absolutely squabbling it out right now. Oh, we're gonna see still keeping his foot in Luke Wolstow around the outside, but he had to get out of it there. And Kuba is having a bit of an opportunity. Well, he's looking for it. Now we're gonna see the Alpines going side by side. Look at Kuba now trying to risk one up the inside, 3 wide. It's a Haas battling with 2 Alpines. Emil won't be able to capitalize. What about the other Alpine of Kuba? Nope, they're both gonna have to sit behind. And here comes Tristan as well up the inside. Still we battling. Look at this, we see Carlos Torres trying to fight his way through. Carlos Torres trying to risk one up the inside, and there's some drivers trying to make moves, then they're being absolutely mugged. You can see the McLaren going on the attack, and Emil is lost out to Boris as well. Zach Miles is now side by side with Boris, who is using a bit of ERS to try and fight as well down towards turn number 9, and we could see possibly Zach Miles boxed in. Carlos Torres covers the inside line, cars all over the road, down to turn number 9 we go, and it's going to be Carlos Torres, then it'll be Zach Miles, and then it will be Boris as well, and looks like Emil Lundell has had issues.
Yeah, Emil Lundell has been caught off track as we see Zach Miles sending it down the inside of Carlos Torres. A little bit of sliding on the exit, but looks like the McLaren driver has kept it up ahead. Now, if we're going to look real quick at Emil Lundell, let's see what has happened, if his car is still all okay, but looks like his car is fine, at least for what we can see. But for who this safety car really didn't work out is Jane Tripkov, because Jane was not at the back of the safety car, I believe, when we had our restart just moments ago. And that now means that he's trailing by quite a bit, unless he has come into the pits. I'm not entirely sure about that. As Nadia Perez picks up a 3-second time penalty for track limits, but Jane has to try and pick up the pace a little bit again to get to the back of the pack. Although if we see another safety car, then that is not something he has to worry about.
Yep, absolutely. Luke Wolster then makes his way through as well, and Daniel Gottschalk all attacking Keanu Littard, and they're all pushing on, trying to get past the AlphaTauri driver, and let's see if they're going to be able to do so. Daniel Gottschalk, the F6 champion from last season, and he's trying to make the move on Keanu Littard. These two drivers who went wheel to wheel in F6 last season at points, but then Keanu Littard was promoted up to F5, and his majority of his season was in F5, but he had 3 rounds at the start right in F6 as well, so these two would have done battle right then. And Luke Wolster now pushing, trying to push Keanu Littard and Daniel Gottschalk, the real one who's pushing right now, Daniel Gottschalk, through the corner, and all of them together. And the rain definitely is adding quite a lot of action for us, with drivers making mistakes, running wide, and then it gets everyone to back up, and then it means that drivers can make moves, and we could be getting one Haas has gone through. Here comes the other one, Luke Wolstow, to turn number 1, and he backs out of it, and he doesn't decide to make the move, thinking better at this stage.
Yeah, thinking better at this stage indeed, which means that we can once again look further up the grid, because it's starting to look like Tias is getting more into the zone and starting to get a bit closer to Jona Martens, who's currently up ahead in the Ferrari. The gaps behind are starting to increase a little bit, although Keanu Luto is still staying close to Daniel Gottschalk, but we see a little bit of a gap emerge from P4 to P5, so Tom Boldra started to fall behind a little bit, although Daniel has not really been able to get hot on his tail yet. As the drivers who stopped earlier for tires, Boris Zakosek still finds himself in P12 with a 1.2 second gap to Zach Miles up ahead. So for now, his offset strategy has not paid off too much, as Jona went very wide there through the chicane, and that opens up a door for Tias Korsman. Has to go route the outside, decides to outbrake him, Can he make the corner?
Oh.
He can indeed. We have a new race leader.
Great stuff. Tyus Korsman hits the front of the field. Once again, he gets past Yona Martins, who's now going to sit in the wheel tracks to try and come back. And in the meantime, they were still battling in the second train that we have in this race. We have the first train, of course, containing the top 4 right now who are dueling over victory at this stage of the race. Then we have P5 all the way downwards to P15 as well. Possible move coming up for Keanu Litard. Is he making it? Let's see. We ride on board with him, and he is going to send one to the inside, but that's the risk of trying to make a move at turn 1, that you could end up ahead, or you could end up pointing in the wrong direction, spinning around. And Keanu Litard is still facing in the right direction, but behind he wants to change that. Boris is out of the race, and so is the full course safety car. Keanu Litard's gonna have to back out of that move, and Boris becomes our first retirement of this season, and that's not what he wanted in the opening round of the season. And the safety car is out, so we have a second safety car as they all continue battling their way through. It's Tyus Korsman, Yona Martins, Felipe Salza, Thomas Conkenny, and Thomas Buldra, the top 5.
Yeah, and this was very good timing for Jane Tripkov, because Jane realized as soon as something happened, okay, I need to come in right now, right here, right now. He came in early enough. Not sure if this is going to give him any net positions gain, but I think some other drivers are going to be sending it into the pits, although we don't really know what their tire life is for a time being. Most of the drivers have been out on these tires for 8 laps. Of course, when we're going to resume the race, that's going to be about 10 laps that they have done, as Boris has now also left the session. So unfortunately not the season start that he would have won, that had great qualifying and went for the offset strategy like we mentioned before. Unfortunately has not paid off for him. We didn't fully see what happened to him either, but let's see. Does Tias come in or does he stay out? He decides to come in. And I think more drivers will follow, and indeed more drivers following behind him. Pretty much everyone so far is. And I think we're going to see a train into the pits.
Yep, we definitely will. Here we go. We are riding on board, and we're seeing almost everyone dive it into the pit lane. Has anyone decided to stick it out? It looks like we have. An AlphaTauri of Cryzix, who has decided to stick out on the racetrack. He obviously made the pit stop during the first safety car, so he's deciding to continue on. Everyone else, though, electing all to come in. There's Tyus Korsman as well. You have Nadi Perez also, who's decided to stay out there on the racetrack. So everyone in this race has everyone in this race has now made a pit stop. So this is now going to get really, really feisty between all of them, with drivers now fighting their way through, and then 2 drivers with older tires at the front of the field, and they're all going to try and make some overtakes. But this could be good for Tyus Korsman if he can try and get past Cryzix on the restart, and then everyone else gets stuck behind. That could be good. He could try pull a gap, and then all he needs to do is hope that there isn't more safety cars, and it could be a domination all the way till the end for him.
Yeah, he definitely does have a window of opportunity now, but we'll need to get by that AlphaTauri as quickly as possible, because there's also behind a driver on older tires. So Felipe Sassa, who did manage to get overtake down on the pit lane on Yona Martins, means that he has a little bit of time before Felipe is going to be hot on his tail. So we'll need to fly by the guys up ahead if he wants to pull a gap, make it easier for him throughout the race.
Oh, and Emil Lundell has been given a drive-to penalty for falling for falling far too back. So, I mean, I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen that one come out for a very, very long time. So, I mean, you've had 2. I've had 1. So, I don't know what is going on in this race. But, yeah, apologies. Nadi Perez is still yet to make a pit stop. So, I did say everyone has made one. Nope. He still needs to make a pit stop in this race. Everyone else, though, has had 1 trip at least. So, Nadi Perez has still yet to make 1 pit stop. But, yeah, we're seeing quite a lot of different drive-to penalties coming in. And Cryzix decides to come in. Is Nadi Perez going to come in as well? Nope. So he decides to stay out.
An interesting move to come in to the pits this late, because that does mean you're going to resume the racetrack all the way at the back of the grid. But I think realizing that it might be better to come in for a pit stop now, so that if there is no safety car, that he can pull it all the way through the end. Otherwise, you have to make a pit stop later on, and that might be less than ideal for him. But it does mean, as Emil Lundell has also come in, likely to serve his penalty. I hope so, but I don't think was able to. We'll be able to see that in a moment's notice. But yeah, as we've seen before, at least as I have seen before, I believe the max amount of safety cars we can have is 5 in a race, right?
I believe so. Might be 4. Unsure if anyone in the live chat can let us know about that one. If anyone does know a certain number. But right now, we are just waiting to get back. And we mentioned, of course, of Tyus Korsman having to pass the car. Now he doesn't need to do that. It's the drivers behind. So Felipe Salza, he'll need to go on the attack straight away. And then it will be two F5 drivers from last season all doing battle as well, which will be great to see, resuming what they had as well last season. Then you're going to have Jona Martins in there as well, a really, really quick driver. He is shown to be, so far, the safety car will be in at the end of this lap.
And with the safety car coming in, that means that TS will be able to dictate the pace from now on, but I think he likely is going to go on full throttle either just before turn 14 or just after turn 14. Prefer after turn 14 because it's very easy to still spin in that final corner. It's already is easy to spin there when it's dry out on track, but rain is going to be much more difficult, and it's still pouring here in Melbourne, so no signs, at least for now or in the coming laps, that it's going to dry up, and we're going to see some alternative strategies. And it looks like Tias has already started to power up a little bit. So just before turn 13, he's decided to start flooring it. And I think he's managed to catch Nardi Perez napping a little bit because he's almost been able to pull a second gap straight off the bat.
Absolutely. Now, this is when Felipe Salza has to try and make the move. Through turn number 1, turn number 3. Let's see, can he get close enough? It seems like he's got good traction, and Nardi Perez was fighting the car all the way through. Turn number 2. Carlos Torres has been given a penalty. Up the inside goes Felipe Salza. Easy pass, and everyone else is going to be trying to get past him. Jona Martins was having a little look up the inside, but Tyus Korsman has a 1.4 seconds advantage, exactly what he wants, and Nardi Perez spins the car and is going to be heading to the back of the field.
He'll be adding to the back of the field and also still needs to make a pit stop. This is not what Nardi was hoping for with that offset strategy, as Tomasko Kenny had a little bit of a close encounter with the wall there, trying to go around the inside of Daniel Gottschalk, and that opens up an opportunity for Kuba Trzeziak, who's now come around the outside of the Aston Martin driver, but keeping the line short means that Tomasko Kenny is still ahead heading into the left-right-hander. But now, better exit for Thomas Buldra behind Kuba Trzeziak. Will have the inside line, tries to outbrake him, but there is no space just there, and with a little bit of a better line and a little bit of contact too, means that Tristan Debacor has now got by, as Sparky's got a penalty as well. It's once again chaos here.
It once again is chaos indeed. Here we go. And it's Tristan Debacor running a tiny bit wide. And Thomas Bulldog's going to have a chance. Not the only one. Keanu Litard's going to be in there as well. As we have a brilliant shot to show you the drivers gaining on each other. And now we make our way down towards turn 1 to see if anyone's pulling out. It looks like we might have a McLaren of Zach Miles pulling out, trying to get past Keanu Litard. And here comes Julian as well. 3 F5 drivers all battling it out right now on the racetrack. They did it a lot last season. They're doing it once again. Luke Woolstow is trying to get past as well on the 2 of them. Great stuff. Out wide goes Julian. Out wide goes Miles. And Luke Woolstow says thank you very much. 10th place for him.
And Alan Banasek also been able to get by there. So after a little bit of the issues that he had earlier on in the race, has already managed to fight his way back up into P11, but the gaps between P2 and P3 already started to increase by quite a bit. So a second, almost 2 seconds to Jona Martins, as we see Zach Miles approaching the back of Julian here on the long back straight. This is a very tricky place to overtake, and it looks like Zach has also decided not to do that yet. Wants to get the better exit here. Can a little bit of a year as he's doing so indeed, but is still too far back to try and send it down the inside. So we'll have to wait a little bit longer. And as we look further up ahead, it looks like Keanu Luto is starting to approach Thomas Buldra in PA.
Yep, he is. So he's getting close there as well. Felipe Salza now has got inside the 1 second of Korsman. Now, that doesn't mean he gets DRS in these conditions, but it does mean that he's in the battle. And to be honest, it's an indication to us as well that he is in a battle. And the indication right now in the battle for P4 to us is that Thomas was having a look up the inside, but he had to back out and couldn't make the move there as well. And in this race, it's really B pass or B pass. It's pass or B pass, really. And at the same time, if you go for a move that isn't on, it could mean that you end up dropping down some positions, as Julian trying to go around the outside of Alan, and he is shown the curb there, and he's going to be sitting in 12th position now as well, with Zach Miles pushing him all the while as well. And there's two McLarens, 13th and 14th right now, both trying to go on the attack, but Felipe Salza now will be looking to go on the attack of TS Korsman. Good traction for Zach Miles off the corner. Is it going to be the left? Is it going to be the right? Which way is he going to pull out to try and make this move? He's having a look around the outside. Keanu Litard is battling away with Thomas Buldra as well, and Zach Miles, is he going to try and go around the outside? Oh, Julian was super late on the break, to a point where he was almost getting past Alan, and his line is compromised there, and they've made a bit of contact. They've made a bit of contact as they make their way down towards turn number 11. Sparky could get interested in this one as well, and around the outside goes Julian. These two who have been so close together so far in this race, they are making each other lose so many positions right now. Sparky is waiting for his opportunity, and now Zach Miles is in 12th. Is Julian going to be in 13th, or is Sparky going all the way around the outside? No, he's heading back into the wheel tracks. So it's Zach Miles in 12th and Julian in Zach Miles in 12th, Julian in 13th, and Sparky in 14th.
And it looks like another driver in the meantime has picked up the pace. Felipe Salsa, who was 6/10 away in the last lap, now within 3/10 of TS Korsman in the lead. So that means that he's starting to chip away at that lead from the Mercedes driver. And as we are approaching half distance, meaning that the Red Bull driver has the superior pace, at least for the time being. Now, if we look further down the grid, we also see much more gaps being so much closer. We haven't watched Luke Walso too much, as he is starting to get closer to Thomas Buldra. Thomas actually not having too best of a run here in the wet. Did, of course, do extremely well in qualifying, picking up pole position, but now finds himself in P9.
Yep, absolutely. And look how close Felipe Salza is to the back of TS Korsman. It was 0.2 of a second when they made their way down to turn number 9 as well. Julian and Sparky, they're battling, and side by side we go between the two of them. How brave is he going to be? Is he going to be able to go around the outside? Julian once again on that part of the circuit. He's got the better traction. He's going to have the position, and Jane Tripkov going to try and make the move as well. Could this be an opportunistic move by the Mercedes to dive to the inside of turn number 13? And Sparky, and we also see Kryzik there trying to get involved. Kryzik could have a great run, making his way onto the main straight, while he watches the two cars ahead of him do battle as well. And here we go. Kryzik could mug the two of them. James Trubkov has been passed. Here comes Kryzik. Can he get past Sparky into turn number 1? No, he cannot. As well as we have battling up ahead. That's Tristan Debecourt up against Keanu Litard and also Daniel Gottschalk.
We had a little bit of an opportunistic move from Kryzik around the outside. Is now going to go for the switchback. There's again contact between the two drivers. It's not the first time that we've seen them make contact in the final few corners. Oh. They're still side by side, as now Gene Tripkov wants to send it down the inside. This surely is the most interesting part of the pack for the time being. It looks like Carlos Torres has also joined in with the fight.
Wow, it's risky in the dry, let alone the wet. Felipe Salza once again getting super close to a move. Under 1/10 it was at a point as well. And now we've got so many battles to show you where we don't even know where to look. Down towards turn 11. Can Tristan Debecourt have a little move? No, he can't. And he kind of forced Daniel Gottschalk to also try and make a move on Kuba as well. Still they battle as Tristan tries to make a move. Litard's trying to go round the outside. And we'll take a look further back and see who else is in a battle. There we go. This is the really very tight battle between Sparky, Jane Tripkoff, and Carlos Torres is now on the back of this one, as well as they all go down to the braking zone of 13 and will be making their way on the main straight. Let's see if Tristan Debecourt can try make a move. What about Keanu Litard as well? All of these drivers pushing each other through the corners. One wide moment from one driver. It could lead to a few drivers passing, and let's see if Keanu Litard can make a move. Nope, doesn't seem like it unless he's late on the brakes, which he tried to be, but he decides to think better of it and sit back.
But he is now on the outside of Tristan Debecourt, who did not get the best of exits in turn 3, and that means that Keanu has been promoted up to P7, although he does pick up 3-second time penalty for track limits, so we'll need to make sure he pulls away enough so that he doesn't lose too many positions later on during the race. So far, if we take a look at the penalties, we have 6 drivers with penalties to their name, 1 driver with 6 seconds, that's Jonah Muftons. All the other 5 drivers have 3 seconds to their name, so that is Ken Luto, Luca Wolsto, Sparky, Carlos Torres, and Nardi Perez, as we see more and more fighting between Keanu Luto, and round the inside is Luca Wolsto.
Felipe Salza takes the lead of the race. He's been getting very, very close, and he has made the move. He gets past Tyus Korsman, and this 2-car battle has become a 3-car battle, because Yona Martins is now on the back of it as well, but we've got a change of leaders. Felipe Salza goes through, and Thomas Buldra has had issues.
Thomas Buldra came out there of turn 11 and did spin in there. I'm not entirely sure if there was contact between any of the other drivers and him, but it does mean that he now finds himself in P17. Not the race that he would have wanted so far, perhaps hoping for a safety car later on. We still have 12 laps to go, and the fights are nowhere done, and it looks like Kuba Trzeziek is starting to amp up the pace towards Tomasz Kenny in P4.
Absolutely. Felipe Salza now being pushed by 2 drivers as well, as they all make their way through. This is turning into some race, and what a season opening race it's been, and we've still got plenty of time in this race for more battles to come, especially this one, this 3-car battle for the lead that's going on the circuit right now. Yona Martins has a penalty, unfortunately. Nardi Perez has the fastest lap right now to his name, but let's see, is T.S. Korsman going to decide to sit back at this stage, or is he going to be trying to make a move as well? And what about Yona Martins sitting in 3rd? Is he gonna try and make make a move as well? And it can all change around if one driver does have a wide moment. You have Thomas Konkenny and Kuba Trzeziek all battling as well over P4 and P5, as Kuba is pretty late on the brakes there. And we look through the pack, it's Zach Miles trying to stay ahead of Alan and Julian in that train. So we've still got quite a few battles going on right now.
We still have quite a few battles indeed, although some gaps have also started to increase quite a bit more. But for now, the most tense fight comes with Luca Wolsto just behind Keanu Luto, as we see Tristan Debecourt go to the pit stop. So he's going to go for his final pit for today. Sparky James Trepkov doing the same, as we see Luca Wolsto back out of the move on Keanu Luto. Probably a good decision. And it's actually Tristan Debecourt who switched to the intermediate. Sparky has done the same. Do we have a crossover point? Because it looks like the weather is still way too wet there. As up ahead, I believe it's Daniel Gottschalk went a little bit wide there in P6. But I actually wonder, do the drivers still have fresh, wet tires?
Here we go, it is showtime now. We have some drivers, we've had 2 drivers put on intermediates right now, and this is when it starts to get interesting between all of the drivers. It's getting interesting on the circuit. It's already got interesting between the 2 Hasses so far in this race, and it was almost a second time, as Daniel Gottschalk is now going to try and make a move around the outside, down to turn number 9. Can he go all the way around the outside of Keanu Litard? No, he cannot, so he has to back out, and Litard doesn't run too wide as well. Let's see. Now, are we going to get a move? Possibly by Luke Wolsto up the inside. Can he dive to the inside? No. And what about Daniel Gottschalk? They're both battling. The 2 Hasses, they're still battling. Look at the traction for Wolsto. Off the corner. Now with the inside line. Now with the place. Up to P7.
Now the place up to P7, as we're currently, at least I'm currently watching Tristan Debecourt take out huge chunks of that gap towards Thomas Buldra. This was 9 seconds after he came out of the pits lane. Now it's 8.2. 8.1 already, actually. So it's starting to look like the intermediate switch is a good decision. And it looks like Thomas Boldra now also coming in, likely to go for a similar strategy as he slides into the pit lane. And it looks like there's intermediates ready for him as well. And they are indeed. So it looks like we're about to approach the crossover point. Where are all the other drivers going to end up on the track? That is the main question that I have on my mind. But it's starting to look like Inters is the way to go from now on.
It definitely does. Look that way at the moment then, as we make our way down towards turn 9 with the leaders getting close and close again. So this is really starting to become an interesting race. It has been all the way through. It's going to become even more interesting. As we've mentioned, the drivers have put on intermediate, so make sure you stick with us all the way till the end of the race. Who knows what's going to happen? There still could be a late safety car. There still could be anything that could happen. So make sure you stick with us here as well. And we currently have a battle. Momentarily had a battle between the Inters and the full wets as well, right at the back. This is for last. Last and second last right now in the race, and this is a good comparison of the grip between the two drivers there as well. And as Tyus Korsman has lost a bit of time to Felipe Sousa, so let's also keep an eye on Yoda Martins, because if Yoda Martins feels that he needs to make the move, then he will go for that indeed, as we are going side by side. But right now, between the Inters and the Wets, and it's the Wets who get ahead, but the Inters do kind of seem to be working at this stage, but the full Wets just about there as well. But I won't be surprised if we do see more drivers start to come in to the pit lane as Alan picks up a 3-second time penalty.
And it's starting to look like the crossover point has not yet been reached, because the fresher wet tires, at least if we look at the comparison between Emma Lundell, Thomas Boldra, especially in the early stages of Sector 3, it is just so much more difficult to keep that car on track when you have to slow down this much. And just on the wets, you're going to have much more grip. Although if you get good exits on the straights, the Inters, of course, going to work a little bit better for you. So not fully at the crossover point yet, although Thurston Debicor is getting closer to Carlos Torres up ahead.
Ooh.
And I think the other drivers are just waiting a little bit longer before making their switch to the intermediate tire.
Here comes Yona Martins. He was pushing Tyus Korsman all the way through, and Yona Martins goes round the outside up to second position and pulls a similar move. But Tyus Korsman doesn't decide to fight it. He pulls a similar move to what Tyus Korsman put on him earlier on in the race as well. But Tyus Korsman may be starting to struggle, and he may have not decided to fight the one as much as he could, possibly due to the fact that Yona Martins might have a better race pace at this stage, and maybe he can try keep them all close to Felipe Sousa.
That could be the case indeed, but now we have to wait and see what the drivers are going to do, because I think it is reasonable to think that most drivers are going to come in for another pit stop. I'm not sure if they can make these wet tires last for a total of 20, with the conditions definitely not seeming to improve whatsoever. But then again, if you can make those tires last for another 8 laps, a pit stop is not going to be short enough to get that gap back in. So, decision, do we stay out in treacherous conditions, hope for a safety car, then come in, or just try and take it through all the way to the end of the race? Or are we going to make a pit stop now and hoping that it's just at the right moment, just before a safety car, or with no safety car at all, and that we will have more pace towards the end of the race? That is the question that we have on our minds, as in the meantime, Tomas Kokeni is starting to get once again closer to Kupatrezia.
Absolutely, here we go. Yona Martins using DRS. Is he about to try and take the race lead? Has a little look on the inside line, and he definitely seems like he wants first position in the race right now, and he is pushing Felipe Sousa through turn number 12 and heading into turn number 13. Possibly a move coming soon for him, maybe down to 1, maybe down to turn number 3. We'll ride on board with the Ferrari man, who will make it through the final corner. The gap is going to be under 0.4 of a second. Sparky's been given a 3-second time penalty, and Yona Martins not wanting to use all of his ERS. He used a bit to try and make the move a few corners ago, but now look, he might use a bit now because Felipe Sousa's run out a tiny bit wide. This could be the opportunity, and we could be about to get another change of lead. Felipe Sousa defends to the inside. Yona Martins trying to go around the outside, but Felipe Sousa may have run a tiny bit wide with that line, and Yona Martins places his car once again on the outside, tries to get the cutback, tries to get better traction off the corner, and still he is facing the Oracle Red Bull. Rear wing right now, and he still is not able to get through, but he is getting super close. This could be where we get the move down towards turn number 9. He seemed very, very close through right now this part of the lap, and you can see he's using a bit of ES. So here we go. In the wet conditions, is he about to go all the way around the outside? No. So he's going to sit behind, and he'll take it through 9. Possibly a move then coming into turn number 11. We've seen quite a lot of moves at turn number 11. And is it going to be better traction for him? Felipe Salza seems like he's got some good traction of the corner, and it seems like he's going to maintain the lead as we go down to turn 11.
For time being, Adiz does keep the lead there. And also for Felipe, the good news for him is he doesn't have to worry that much about Jonah behind him, because Jonah has got a penalty to his name. So that means even if he gets overtaken on the track, means that he will inherit that race win when they cross the line. The man that he really has to watch out for is Thias Korsman in P3. Further down the line, though, if we have another cheeky look, it looks like Tomasz Kenny really getting close now to Kuba Trzeziak, but decides against a move in turn 1, although he has to break very little bit of contact with the Alpine. But it looks like Kuba is starting to struggle a little bit on the tire, starting to brake a little bit more conservatively. But at least so far, it's not quite enough for Thomas to send it down the inside, although he's going to stay behind, linger, and hopefully not wait too long, because Keanu Luto has also moved within a second of him.
He definitely has as well. And lap number 24 out of 29. And right now, the order: Felipe Salza, Jonas Martins, Thias Korsman. That's the battle for the lead that we're going to have. The battle of fourth, as you mentioned, Kuba, Tamas, and then we have Keanu Littard, Wallstow, Daniel Gottschalk, and Jack Miles just about in this train as well. Then you have Julian, Kryzix, Alan, and then Carlos Torres as well, who's much more further back though. So it's Julian, Kryzix, and Alan who are all fighting over that position, and then you have Carlos Torres just ahead of Tristan, who's on the intermediates, trying to close down the gap as well. Let's look to Tamas as he tries to make a move, and it's all about trying to force your rival off the racing line and then possibly trying to get on the power and take the position. That's the battle right now for P4.
And that is the battle that we will continue to watch, as it are the couple drivers that are cleared out, although also for P16 we have a fight starting to in between Sparky and Emil Londa, as Tomasz Kenny didn't have the best of exits in turn 14 and will stay behind Kuba Trzeziak at least a little bit longer. Also a penalty picked up by Carlos Torres, but it looks like the drivers that went for that extra pit stop, so Tristan Dabicor, Jane Tripkov, Sparky, Emil Londa, Nadi Perez, Thomas Bull, was not the right strategy to go for it, because the gap to the drivers up ahead still way too much, as I think we saw... Did I see a front weight flying there? Was it rain?
Well, I didn't spot anything, so we're going to have to wait and see if anyone in the live chat did. Then do let us know as well, as Luke Wallstow to the inside of Littard, and he makes that move, as Littard picks up another penalty.
Tito has picked up another penalty indeed, as he's now fighting with Daniel Gottschalk. Daniel's going to try and send it round the inside. This is the line where you want to be at, because the next corner is towards the left, and he's made that move stick onto Keanu, so means that he can now continue his approach up ahead, because remember, Jonah has 6 seconds to his name. That gap is a little bit more than 6 seconds now for Daniel Gottschalk. He's already going to inherit P6 from his teammates, who also has a penalty to his name. So if he can pick up the pace just a little bit more, that means that he can get further up ahead, as we see Julian and Kryzik's fight go side by side into turn 12, heading towards turn 13. It looks like the inside line is going to be for Julian. A little bit later braking, good leaving a space as well. Kryzik's giving Julian enough space there, but not too much, so that he can send it by, and Kryzik's does keep to that P10 for a time being. We have 4 more laps remaining, guys. In the meantime, in the chat, let us know who you think is going to take that race win.
Indeed, do let us know as well. And Kuba with a bit of a moment. Tamas joining him with a bit of a moment as well, through turn number 3 and into 4. And they're going to go side by side. Millimeter stuff between the two of them. Are they all going to be able to keep on the road? Kuba pushed off a tiny bit wide, and that's not what he wanted, because Luca Wallstow is here as well to now try and go on the attack. But so far, what a race it has been. Still a few laps to go to decide this battle and sort out who's going to be in fourth, but also, and most importantly, who's going to finish in first position. Jonas Martins may just be sitting a bit back. We know his pace. He might just be sitting a bit back as here comes Kuba. He's not sitting back at all though. He's trying to make a move at turn number 9 where it's risky in the dry, and in the wet it is really, really treacherous and can lead to quite a bit of contact. Zach Miles getting past Keanu Leetard, who's going to try and fight back. Is he? Nope. He decides to sit right behind the rear wing of the McLaren as well. And we have a prediction coming in. Yona will win. Let us know, the rest of you as well, who's going to take victory as they still battle for P4. In the meantime, we're showing you this battle for the P4, but we go on to lap number 27, and now Jonas Martins is going on the attack. So maybe your prediction of Jonas Martins winning in the live chat could be correct, but the rest of you, if you think something else, then do let us know. Or if you think Jonas Martins will, do let us know as well. And still, we see Luke Wallstow battle away with Kuba.
He
has to back out, and here we go. This is for the race lead. This is Jonas Martins going for it up the inside. He's side by side with Felipe Sousa. He keeps his foot in, almost contact between the two of them. Tyres Korsman's very close as well. Jonas Martins has the lead.
Jonas Martins has the net race lead, and now I'll have to see if he can fend off Felipe. Oh, we have a retiree. Thomas Buldra has DNF'd, but we are going to see, I don't think we can get a safety car anymore this late on in the race, so that just means that we have a yellow flag. The drivers will still be going flat out as Felipe is trying to come round the outside of Jonas Martins, but this is not an easy place to do it.
Oh!
But he has gone ahead, and he has retaken the lead, and he has pushed that Ferrari back to P2. The fight for P1 is going to work because there is T.S. Korsman. He's going to try and have a look, but he will sit back just a little bit. Let those two guys fight it out ahead, and if they make a little mistake, try and send it down the inside, but there's no space for him in turn 12. Perhaps there will be in the corners to come.
Wow, incredible stuff. Felipe Sousa looking for the lead. Contact with Jonas Martins momentarily, and they just about keep it going in a straight line. And look at this, Felipe Sousa. What sort of traction does he have out of the final corner? Can he try and retake the lead into turn number 1? And Tyres Korsman right now will be saying more of this. He is a fan of this right now, watching it from behind. We're a fan of the action that's going on right now as well. And Jonas Martins, as Felipe Sousa's all out of shape. Can Jonas Martins try get away now?
Oh, Jonah definitely needs to try and get away because that gap behind towards Tomas Kokeni is shrinking. He has 6 seconds to his name, has 6.5 now towards Tomas behind. So if they finish with the gaps that we have now, that means Jonah will at least stay on the podium. But if he loses a little bit of extra time, then he's going to lose that final podium position to Tomas Kokeni. Then further down the order, it's starting to look like Jane Tripkov has started to catch up with Tristan Debecourt. So that switch for intermediate is indeed, unfortunately, not working out for him. And now we're going to see a fight between the AlphaTauri teammates because Keanu Luto is hot under pressure from Crysis.
Here we go, though. Our main attention right now is at the front of the field. Felipe Sousa doing all he can to try and get close into turn number 11 and try and start the next lap on the rear wing of the Scarlet Ferrari. As we get on the power, Felipe Sousa all out of shape. He cannot afford moments like that because first of all, he won't have a chance to fight for victory right at the end, and second of all, he could lose second position in the race as well. We're making our way to turn number 13 and turn number 14. It's 0.6 of a second, and Jonas Martins starting to pull away a tiny bit, and this is going to need to be a great lap for Felipe Sousa. Tyres Korsman might try to take second position, but here we go then. We are on the final lap of the opening race of the season, and Jonas Martins has run out a tiny bit wide. Jonas Martins is wide to open the door possibly for Felipe Sousa, who's using a bit of ERS. We are on now the final 5.2 kilometers, 3.2 miles, and Jonas Martins with a little bit of a wide moment that he surely didn't want, and it could mean that he might lose this lead on the last lap, depending on if Felipe Sousa can try stay close to the rear wing of the Ferrari. Jonas Martins runs out a tiny bit wide as well, and Tyres Korsman is going to be sitting and watching this and hoping that these two makes a bit of contact. Now with foot to the floor, all the way down towards turn number 9. What a last lap this has been, and Felipe Sousa got close, but it looks like Jonas Martins might have recovered. Still gaining. Look at this, how much the Red Bull's gaining. Can he try and make a move into turn number 9 on the inside? He tries it, but he can't do it. He can't make the move, and it might have compromised his exit has compromised his exit, and Jona Martins, absolutely brilliant. He had a few moments, and here comes Tyus Korsman as well. Korsman tries to go around the outside, under braking. This is for second position in the opening race of the season, and Felipe Sousa gets his elbows out. He keeps second position. It'll be Korsman in third. It'll be Felipe Sousa in second, but at the head of the pack, it is going to be Jona Martins, who will make his way to the last corner on the last lap. What a brilliant drive by him in the opening round of the season. He will take victory in the Australian Grand Prix. Jona Martins starts off season 36 in style by winning. It's Felipe Sousa who takes second, and Jona Martins will lose out due to penalties. It'll be Felipe Sousa in first, then it'll be Tyus Korsman. Great stuff right all the way till the end, and I completely forgot about Jona Martins' penalty.
That's all good. As we see further down the line, Zach Miles making up a lot of positions later on in the race. Remember, he was like P9, but now with penalties as well, he's managed to get to P6 as we have another DNF retiree for Alan Banasek, so he won't be scoring any more points. Then again, didn't score any points as we could see, but it means that our opening race goes to Felipe Sousa, second place goes to Tyus Korsman, and P3 to Jona Martins, who did win it out there on track, but penalties unfortunately still are a thing. But he did get a lot of penalties early on. I think he got both of them in the first lap, so maybe we'll be applying for some penalty removals. If he can get both removed, then that of course will matter in the end. But if that doesn't change, that means that our first winner for this season is Felipe Sousa.
Absolutely. Apologies for that. Completely forgot that he had a time penalty. But Felipe Sousa ended up as the winner. Tyus Korsman in second. Jona Martins in third. And then we had Thomas Conkenny in fourth. Daniel Gottschalk in fifth. Zach Miles, then Luke Wallstow, Kuba, and then Kryzix Julian, Jane Tripkov. Then we have Emil Lundell, Keanu Litar, Tristan, Carlos Torres, Nardi Perez. And then we had Sparky, Alan, Thomas, and Boris. And Thomas and Boris being one of your two of your retirements from this race. What an incredible race it was. Felipe Sousa ends it as the winner. We'll see if any drivers do want interviews, but that was absolutely fantastic. Loved that race, and what a way just to start the season.
It was a great way to start the season, but seeing the race fully out there in the wet, so no changing conditions whatsoever. We thought for a moment that with the indoors we were going to see some more action strategy-wise, but we had plenty of action without that. Just in the wet. And yeah, Felipe Sousa taking the provisional win from P6 on the grid, bringing it to P1 in the race. Although we already heard Jona mention on Discord that he can get those penalties removed. So if he does manage to succeed in that, that means that he inherit the race win back. So unfortunately, we will only be able to confirm the full results for that next week. But for now, let's just enjoy what we've just seen the past hour and a half, because that was a nice way to kick off a season.
Yep, absolutely. So, well, possibly he still could end it as the winner. I've asked the top two whether they would like interviews, and if they do, then we will get them in, and we will have a word with them. Felipe Sousa is in the waiting room. Lovely stuff. So we'll actually be able to speak to him. We'll get him in the call. And right now, it looks like he has joined. So welcome, Felipe Sousa. And I'm going to let I'm going to let you take it away with the questions.
Right. Felipe, how is it to be in PCF4?
Well, thanks, guys. It's amazing, to be fair. I was expecting, not gonna lie, because I won a race last season in F5, so I think I live here, and yeah, we quite proved that today.
It's great to hear. Now let's first go back to qualifying, because qualifying was still in the dry weather when the race was all wet. But qualifying P6 for you, how was qualifying?
It was pretty good, actually, because I didn't practice any online session, so I've only done GP, and my PB was a 0.0, so the 110 is quite okay, you know. So yeah, P5 is still pretty close, and I knew in the race that would be quite tough to overtake the guys because it was raining, heavy rain, exactly. So yeah, it would be really tough. But I was happy with P6 to be honest, because last season I started P6 in Monza and I won, so I knew I had a chance, maybe.
Right, so P6 sounds to be a lucky number in qualifying. But then going to the race, you had a very long fight, a three-way fight really, with Tias and Jonah. How was that fight?
It was pretty amazing, mate. Actually, it was really pretty clean, which we usually don't expect, like from other guys. But I knew Yona would be really fair, and Tyus as well, because last season I had a really good battle with Tyus in a couple of races, actually in Miami as well. So yeah, I knew it would be rather clean, and yeah, I was very satisfied with the fight. I was really trying to keep the lead, but as I had less wings, I had more tire wear, and then in the end, it really cost me. I almost lost P2 there because Yona is definitely gonna remove the penalties. So yeah, I almost lost P2, but it was a really good fight with the guys, and I'm really happy to be up here. And yeah, starting the championship well. I hope to keep like this until the end, and yeah, maybe the title.
All right, well, one more question for you then. If you look ahead at the calendar, which race that we still have coming up ahead is going to be your favorite?
Let me see the calendar really quick. I can see it here. Well, I really like Brazil, obviously, and also Netherlands. So quite at the end of the calendar, but Belgium's gonna be pretty chaos because yeah, all the guys pretty together, with the DRS, etc. But I think Monaco also is gonna be a pretty good one. I mean, I like all the tracks. To be fair, I only hate Azerbaijan, but I think everyone hates the track, so it's okay. And yeah, looking forward to.
All right, thank you very much. Then, Omi, any further questions from you?
Nope, not at all. Well done on first or second, whatever it will be as well. And I accidentally, and I'll tell you to all three of, and I'll tell this to all three of you as well. I accidentally called Yona Martins the winner. I forgot that he had a penalty, so luckily it might get removed for me. So it's kind of made me feel a bit better.
Yeah, no problems, mate. So yeah, thank you guys. It was a pretty good race, and also GG to Jonas and Tyus.
Thank you very much.
Yep, well, thank you for joining in with the chat. And I think I'll now let Omi do the interviews with our man, at least for now, provisionally in P2, and that's Tias Kosman.
Right, mate. I like to let you do all of the interviews. I'm not really good at interviewing, so I like to hand it all over to you with it.
All right. Well, then let's go back to you, Tias. You had a very good first run, and then the latter bit of qualifying went quite well too. What were your hopes getting into qualifying session? What position were you aiming for?
Well, I mean, I've never driven in F4 before, and as I was struggling to get pole often in F5 last season, I wasn't expecting much. So P2 was a very big surprise, and I expected a lot of people to go into the 15s, but that luckily never happened. So yeah, very surprising.
Well, that is great. In the race start, you were able to keep up with the pack early on, stay ahead, be in the lead for quite some time as well. And then we saw after the second safety car, you were suddenly leading the pack. You went off a little bit early. I think you caught one of the Williams drivers off guard there. You had a bit of a gap, and then you saw the drivers come back. How hard was it to try and manage your pace there in your second stint?
Yeah, so I'm not really the greatest in the wet, I'd say. But it was going surprisingly well at the beginning of the stints. But as the tires got worse, my pace kind of dropped off. I wasn't as quick anymore. But I think on fresh wets, my pace was very good. But yeah, coming to the end of the race, Jona and Felipe both had much better pace, and I was struggling to keep up.
All right, and then finally, you had a great running last season in F5. Now here in PCF4, perhaps your aspirations have changed a little bit after this race. What are your goals for this season?
I think I should just stick to getting podiums. I just hope to get P3 in the F4 standings now. I think winning the championship is a bit too much to ask for, and I was kind of expecting to be somewhere near 10th place coming into this championship. So I think it's been going really well so far, and I just have to keep it up and maybe get top 3.
All right, well, Thank you very much for that. Also very humble on your part, so that is nice to see too. And yeah, we'll see you next week again in Belgium.
Thank you.
Right. Then I believe we have one more driver remaining. The driver that is now provisionally in P3, but I think we'll have some chatting to do about the penalties you obtained in lap. Move to that later on. First off, a big shout out to you, Jona Martens.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good to be here.
So, we've had a very, very wet race out there. First of all, what were your thoughts when you saw that a race was going to be fully full?
Well, to be honest, I wasn't too happy about it because I haven't really gamed too much since like the first few months of the game. I played a lot back then I fell a bit down, and since November I haven't driven like any laps anymore. So it was good coming back into this, but to be honest, I only practiced dry. I didn't do a single lap of wet beforehand, hoping it was obviously going to be dry, but I guess most drivers have this, so I wasn't too happy when I saw it. Also kind of the small mistake on my quali lap, which started P5, which in the rain obviously normally doesn't really help, because overtaking is not easy in the rain. But yeah, eventually it is what it is, and you just have to get on with it. So we made a setup on the spot with Nicolas in my voice chat, and I guess it worked out.
Yeah, do you think it was the setup that gave you the win today?
I think the setup was important because I think straight off the bat I realized most people were not on the level of wing I was on. I feel like they were maybe a few clicks lower than I was. In overall pace is going to give me an advantage. But in the first stint, before the second safety car, I killed my tires really quickly, which meant I was quite a bit slower than most people around me, especially the rear tires. So then in the second stint, I managed those a lot better, which meant they survived a lot better than in the first stint, which meant I had good pace towards the end, which in the end gave me the availability to overtake both Tias and Felipe with a great battle.
All right, and then let's go back to lap 1, because in lap 1 you did get a couple of those penalties added. You already mentioned in the chat earlier on that you're looking to get those removed, but you were going up and down the order quite a bit, going to P3, going back to P5. How was the first lap for you? Because that looked pretty chaotic.
Yeah, it was a bit of searching, because for me it's a first time racing against most of the people here. So most of the time when you're racing against people, you know the racing, you know what to expect. So I didn't really know what to expect going into it, and first laps in a while. So I was a bit scared that I was going to make a mistake, brake too late, brake my wing or something. But luckily, the first lap went quite well, on track at least. I got 2 warnings by myself, which were in turn 1 and in the turn 11, which is the corner after the straight after the. But then I got pushed a little bit wide in turn 4, I believe it is, the left-hander, after the slow right-hander hairpin, and I got a quadruple warning from it for some reason. So I'll be trying to get those removed, and that should remove any of my penalties. Those 6 seconds of penalties meant that I had to drive very safely the rest of the race, though, because any warning would mean I had a 3 seconds, which in the end would still put me in P3. So it was, I was a bit glad to drive a bit off the limit for the most of the race, and sometimes it was a bit close, but in the end, happy to be able to not get any more warnings.
That is great. Now, of course, we're going to see next week on the stream when we head to Belgium whether that penalty removal was successful, and then we'll be able to confirm the results that we had here tonight. But one final question for you, Jona. If you look at the tracks coming up this season, which track do you think you are going to be strongest at?
Let me have a look at the calendar. I've always been quite strong at Austria, but I feel like Zandvoort is probably my strongest track. I'm really quick at Zandvoort. I guess you can call it a home track advantage. But the most of the tracks are not really my favorites, so we'll have to see how those go. But Netherlands is one I'm very much looking forward to.
That sounds great. Well, that rounds off the questions from my end. Anything that you still have to add, Omi?
Not at
No,
all. You've covered
just
it.
thank you for you guys for commentating for the first race.
Yep, no worries.
Sorry, you said me.
No worries at all as well. Yeah, so it was absolutely a fantastic race. Thanks to all three of the drivers for their interviews as well. Now we'll quickly take a look at the calendar once more for you. So we head to Belgium next time out, then we head to Monaco, Austria, Canada, France, Portugal, Azerbaijan, then Netherlands, Brazil, and we're going to end the season in Texas. But that was just a phenomenal race from start all the way to finish. The rain definitely did add quite a lot of spice to it, Mitt, and it definitely was a race that was a great way to start off the season.
It was for sure. It was one hell of a race to remember. And as you already mentioned, we're going to have all these tracks in weeks of succession, so there will not be a break in between. Of course, out there in the real world, there's a lot happening with car reveals and testing and whatnot. But the action here at PSGL stays, so definitely make sure to tune in once again, because next week in Belgium might have some rain again, because Spa does have quite a bit of rain there. But I think we're going to see a very, very good race once again on the longest track on the calendar.
Absolutely. So that's going to be incredible. Big thanks, of course, to our sponsors at SRC and, of course, GT Omega. As you can see, I also have the chair right here as well. And also a big happy birthday to Yorit as well. But it's going to be incredible. It's going to be an incredible season. We've started it off. The viewership has been incredible. We still have 22 people listening to us. So thank you to every single one of you today who has joined us. Mitt, what are your final words?
Well, I think we can look back at a great opening race. There's many more great tracks to come, and I think we can only hope that we're going to see more close fighting that we saw today, and also clean fighting like this today, because we haven't seen a lot of broken front wings, and that's pretty impressive given that we've raced 29 laps on a wet Albert Park.
Absolutely. Big thanks to you, Mitt. Big thanks to the top two for joining us for interviews and for all of the drivers for attending. And also a very big thanks to everyone for joining us here in Round 1. We'll be back next week for Spa. The PlayStation tiers also happen on Monday as they start their season at Albert Park. We have the E-Series taking place tomorrow, so make sure you join that as well. And then we'll be back, of course, on Thursday for an exciting race coming up at Spa. But for myself and Mitt, it has been an absolutely, it's been a pleasure being here and also having all of you watching, and make sure you join us next week when PSGL returns. Goodbye.
He's got the inside, oh, here he's through, on the left-hand side, hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Opmeer now, to the last couple of corners now, his finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the ghost is back. Jarno Opmeer wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.